Hi guys, welcome to my new design. I thought I'd work in one of Klara Markova's books. I pinned it to the board at the minute, so I can't. And we have a Jessie. Excuse me. I've fallen in love with derwent watercolor pencils. But my particular set is a vintage set, so that's what they look like at the moment. So if you see them and they're a turquoisey blue, that's a vintage set. And if you see them dark blue, that's a new set. The colours are identical. The only thing slightly different is I find that the older ones, the vintage ones, are slightly waxier. And the pencil, the wood, is better quality in the old one. But that's obviously because now they can't use woods. So it's obviously from a sustainable wood. Whereas the old-fashioned way, that's what they used. So what I thought I would do, sorry about the quirky voice, it's a bit. So I didn't feel particularly well on Tuesday, so I was playing about with my pencils, and it's like everything, I forget I've got things and I go back to them. Sorry, just 2 seconds, I'm doing two things. Oopsie, can't hold that. So I thought I would have a go. My laptop's being very slow at the minute. I don't know what it's doing. My laptop is being very, very slow. Very slow. Let's see if I can zoom in. Oh, zoom in a little bit. So let's see if we can. Oh, there, that's slightly better. So I've been working with scratching 3 colours or 2 colours, a light, a dark, and then a medium tone, and a light and a dark. And I like the rule of 3, because we can manipulate the colours and it gives us quite a nice effect. So I thought I'd that effect on here, but I do it with not in particularly my colours now. And the colours are very slightly different, but it's the pigment that makes the watercolours different. So I've been using, for the violet, I've been using number 27 Blue Violet Lake and 25 dark violet, and that was, so I actually kind of like those colours. The other thing I wanted to show is how I open them. So I've taken all the wood off with a scalpel blade, but I've not touched the strip of colour. And the reason I do that is, if you can see, I don't sharpen it, but I do have some quite sharp edges. So if I want a very precise bit, I can get that. So we do have Jessie on the table. Are you going over there then? Off we go. So I thought I'd show you one of the pencil sharpeners that I do use, but I don't use it on my best pencils, and that's the Koom KUM automatic long point, and it has a number 1 there and a number 2, and you put the pencil. Now I'm going to show you one of these because these are my precious pencils, and you twist. Now you keep twisting until you can twist and nothing happens. And basically it's done what the scalpel blade's done. It's taken the wood off, but it's left the strip in the middle. And then what we do is we find my little bin. And what you're doing basically is there's a stop there. It says stop, and you can see it going round and nothing's happening. So now we put it into this one and we turn until nothing happens. And then when you bring it out, you've got that super fine point. Super fine point. If I can just see, find a bit of white. And inside, if you do that with a watercolor, you could save all these color, the old savings, and you could make it into a watercolor. And then I'll show you with, this is a real vintage one, the silver one. And we keep turning. They're about £5 or £6 of these. Now the one I've got, you see, oh no, keep going. Now mine hasn't got to the top bit, but it stopped taking any pencil off. So when you bring it out, it's taken that much off. It's done that. So it doesn't take very much of the colour off. So I shall be working with my new set of Derwent pencils. You can see I've sharpened that one, but most of them I haven't used a pencil sharpener, and I think I'm going to go back. Actually, I will try see what the wood's like. It's to do with how well the wood is stuck to the pigment. So we'll put that one in and turn. Right, stopped sharpening now. So most of that is pencil. There's very little actual colour. And as you can see, the strip there. Nothing's happening when I turn it round. So it's taken all the wood off for me. So actually, I might actually use that. Now, I could take that to a point if I wanted, but that's fine for me because I can still get to where I want. If you're frightened of a blade, that's the next best thing, because it doesn't take the strip of colour, it just takes the wood off. And the reason this is the blue one, there is a red one, but the blue one has these little tiny holes at either side, and they are for I think it says 2mm and 6mm. So if you have one of these, which I think this is a 2mm maybe a 10mm, this one. The lead is obviously thicker, and what you do is, I don't think you put it in the white one, and when you turn, you get a beautiful point on the end. So it sharpens your mechanical pencils as well. And the red one of these doesn't have the little holes, so it doesn't. And they are the same price on Amazon. So this one has the little, have a look to see, make sure you get the red and the white little hole at the side, because that's for a 2mm. It doesn't actually tell you, just on the box, but is that. And as it doesn't touch. If, however, you want to do it the old-fashioned way, and I can't find my scalpel, you put the pencil in one of these derwent sharpening guards. So you lay the pencil on the, you push it up, and then you use a blade away from you. Hit this, if you can see the scratch marks on it. Just put my coffee. At school, we first learnt with a Stanley knife, because these are good because the blade goes in. So once you've got that in there, it doesn't matter if anybody gets hold of it themselves. And you just sharpen across, and you hit in the guard, and then you turn the pencil gently. Now this one's got ridges in it. It's a round pencil. You can turn it and get your point that way, because you're not twisting this away from this. That's what splits your pencils. So it's quite a nice, you see, if you just gently that and you pressure on it, you can turn it. And of course you do end up with a point then at that point. You will get a lovely point at the end of your pencil. So there's two ways to sharpen a precious pencil. But there is a Derwent pencil sharpener that you twist as a manual one. I do have a battery operated one, but I don't trust it for my pencils. So my pencil now will go into there, and then I can use it worrying about splitting the wood. That's another one that wants sharpening. That's another one. And put my pencils somewhere now. So I like to work in colours. I can't find the pencil. If I'm doing a yellow, I don't know what I use for yellow actually, but if I'm doing a pinky red or a purple or a blue, I use indigo as the darkest, and I do the same with the greens as well. Indigo works quite well. If I'm doing a pink red, I use burnt carmine, and if I'm doing a grey or a brown, I use sepia. And those three colours are very dark, and that's instead of using black. But that made a bit of sense. Which is working. The other advantage of doing this way is you can scratch your colour on your page, and you can sit and work through your book, just scratching a little bit of colour, and then you can leave your pencils at home and just take your book with you. Madder carmine. And that was rose madder. And then burnt carmine, for some reason, is with the browns. Number 65 is burnt carmine. So those are the colours that I'll be using if I wanted to use a pink. So 21, 19 and 65. So I've got a light, a medium and a dark. to the mushrooms, I think. That makes them a bit purplish, doesn't it? No, I think I'm going to do the horse purple and her dress pink. So my lightest one, I'm going to put where I think light wants to be. And the nicest thing is there's no blending, you're just going to put some colour around. And with this method, I actually like to cover the whole area with pencil. So this isn't the watercolouring to get a watercolour effect. This is just quite strong, vivid colours. Oh, hi Sandy, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Just scratching this colour. Really, I should be turning the book so that it's and then we want the next colour. And the thing to remember is all these scribbles will completely disappear into a beautiful watercolour, so you don't have to be precious. You can just scribble. And so you can do all the scribbling all over the page. You can do it section by section. But we're looking for just finding it a bit difficult to hold today. My shoulder up, hands down. So just go in there. Just a bit nearer. So there's not a lot of pressure at all, just scratching. But scratching accurately. It's not really willy-nilly, it's quite accurate. And then the Alfie, leave her. Jessie. You've been told, Alf. Just put a bit of dirt down this one. Jessie. And then the darkest one. And you'll think, oh my goodness, that's dark. No, as I say, this is not. Oopsie. Come on now, Jessie. Jessie, go away. So this again is another quite nice way to work if your hands are a bit poorly. Just gently scratch. So we want to get rid of as much white or paper colour as possible, really. Now you can go in with a water brush, but the way I've been manipulating it, I've been using just a couple of brushes that I like. So now we're thinking, this is where we think shadow. We think dark, and we think this is where we've got shadow now. Oh, hi, Lodi. Welcome to the Designs. I'm playing with my Derwent watercolour pencils. I've fallen back in love with them again. I do prefer my vintage set, but we're going with this one for the minute. So what I'm going to do on a bit of paper here is I'm just going to put the number, which is 65, 21, and 19. So that's my colours for this, if I want to go back into it, or if I want to do it for. I was supposed to try this little book and keep the colours in it, but I haven't managed to an art shop, so I'll have to rethink that. So colours. Now, if you want to put them back in your pencil case, but you want to know which colours you used, you can put them in colour order, but backwards. So that's number 19. That's number 21. Look at this. I know that I've been using these two colours. And then put this one backwards on that one. And then I'm not going to forget what I've used. So I've got a colour reference there. I know instantly without reading them there. So we could scratch the dress colour. You can scratch everything you want. It's only pencil. Nothing's going to happen to it at all. So you could do the whole page. And then I'm actually working with, as I say, for this particular effect, I'm using 4 brushes. So I've scratched the colour in and then I've manipulated it with a brush. If you go dark to light, will you lose your highlights? So you want to go pale. So I started here and got the pale, and then I went back into it. So I'll show you how I did it. It's not as easy as watercolouring where you just take it and go, one colour and you just take it and go. These colours are really good quality watercolours, and they will blend together. So the other thing with these pencils is you can blend 20 colours together and never get mud. You can't do that with any other watercolour. So a second while I retrieve my with any watercolour paintbrush, you don't particularly need any size. We've got a number 4 we've got a 1, and then we've got a 2 0 and a 3 0. So at the moment I've got 4 paintbrushes. Now the 00 and the 4 are my old brushes, and these are my new ones. So at the moment I'm liking to work with number 1 and 000. But I do have these 2 sets, and these are quite nice. Probably for this size I can just use the 2 and keep these for best, because you can, it's a bit difficult in your paintbrushes. Thank you, Nigel. Sorry, I hope we just I'll get the mouth going today, guys. Sorry. And now I need some kind of, I've got a big pot, but I've been using a sponge, and it's got some water in there, and this works quite well, this one, because the middle comes out, so you've got 2 pots. I think that's gone mouldy. I might have to put the lid on. That smells horrid. Whew, does, woohoo, that smells. Yeah, don't leave your sponges, natural sponges. So I was working with this sponge. Just found my scalpel blade. I've been looking for it all over. I like these traditional sponges, but you can use a little face sponge. This is a natural sponge. So I took it with me in my pencil case. So I'm dunking into deep water and then just drying it off on a sponge. And when you draw it back, it becomes a point. And then you've got enough water, because this is not watercolor paper, so we don't want it too wet. Oh, thank you, Melody. Oh, thank you, Melody. Yes, although I'm scratching a bit of colour, I've kind of gone off pencils because you've got to blend them. But actually, this is a way to blend them, and it does look like a blended pencil. Now, you can blend them. These can blend together to get this effect, but I cannot do that with my hands, because it's just a bit too much. So now I've just got to work out where to put the water pot. This technique also works with videos. So you take a bit of the crayon, scratch it on. There's a couple of videos I've shown of how to do that. Right. So I have this huge pot, which put my sponge there. You've got to be comfortable. So dunking the brush, twisting on the sponge, and then we're going in. Again, that's just, you can see that might be a bit wet. Just gentle strokes. I might just have to I'm going to cheat and put some gouache on that to finish. I think I'm going to use a baby wipe, actually. I just decided. I think I'm going to use a baby wipe. Oh. What I do with my face wipes is I use these face wipes, one at night, one in the morning. And obviously if I've got foundation on, if I've got anywhere, I don't keep them. But if I just use a little bit of eyebrow makeup, I keep them and I put them in one of the empty pots. And look how clean it is. So there might be a tiny bit of mascara, but apart from that, there's just essence of bunny on there. And so I can use that. It's actually where I put some water in it. I can use that instead of using a baby wipe. And because they are so big, they last a long time. So the system works quite well. And it stops me buying baby wipes. So I'm going to dunk. This brush is a bit big, actually, but I'm going to dunk it. And then you can see now I want the highlight on there, so I've got colour on here, so I can't go back, because if I go back I will mix the colour too much. So you want to work into your darks, and my brush is misbehaving at the minute. You see it's all splitting and I don't want it to do that. Where's the other two brushes? So the other thing I've got is brush holder, because I don't normally work with too many. My word, what do I do with the paintbrushes now? I'll put them back. I'm going to work with these two because it's a better brush. And I want to keep that highlight, so I'm going to take that down. Both my paintbrushes are misbehaving today. That's better. You can always go back in there and put a little bit more if you want. And then we want to keep that lovely highlight that we got. And you end up with a very delicate blend. So we want to start where it's the lightest. I'm going to try not, because I want a lovely, oh sorry, they've got the bird scarer going. You're always cleaning your brush, because I'm going to have to, I don't know why the brush is splitting like this. I don't know why. I'll have to go back and collect those, but you're going to end up with a lovely soft effect. I just can't work out why my paintbrush is behaving like this. So you end up with a lovely blend. Now you can go back in it, because remember this is watercolor, so it will move every time you touch it. So, and all that scribble just disappears. So I want to keep my watercolor effect, so I shall have to go back in there. When you want it lightest. Hello, Jessie Doos. Come on. Come on then, good girl. Sorry, Jessie Doodles wants a snuggle. And now he's jealous, poor Alfie. Let's see if I can zoom in a bit. I wanted, there seemed to be something kind of a bit soapy with the brushes. They seem to be a little bit soapy, and not behaving as they normally do. So because we're not using so much water, we're not creating any crinkles, but we can push around. No, that's my water. So if you want to use a smaller brush, you can do. All those colours just blend lovely together. And I kept it fairly light, didn't put too much dark on it. You don't want it too wet, but you want it just to melt. So if you start at the bottom and work down, you can push that colour around. And all those pencil marks have gone. And you don't have to go up to the line with the pencil because you can push it about once it becomes a watercolour. Now there is a bit of a rubbing going on to make it into a watercolour, but not enough to damage the page. So you get a lovely soft highlight. And it's a very peaceful way to work. Now, I'm a bit uncomfortable here, but normally if you get comfortable, you can do this technique all day. It's just that I would turn the book around so that my wrist is doing this because you have more control. And it's all set. So I think he can have a kind of a purpley mane. Just going to pop the brushes back so I can keep them fairly neat. And then look through my colours. So I think we're kind of on a purple. So I think we're going to have a dark. Morning. Hi, sorry guys, I just it's held up by some clips and they don't, it doesn't work. I've scratched the colour in, but I just can't hold my hands up. I don't know what to do. I didn't know what to do because I don't think that's a good angle, is it, on my knee? Let's see if I can zoom in. I'll just do the main and then I'll have to stop the video and restart it. It can't be done. Hang on. Oh, this is the one that doesn't work. This is the one that doesn't work. Yes, it's only on clips. It's just that I've got my table up there. So just colour this in for a minute and then I'll restart the video, but I'll have to move it into another room and restart it. But I'll show you what I'm going to do. So we've got all the three colours. So you start on the lightest and they melt like butter. The only thing you've got to remember is if you want to keep your highlight, you have to keep cleaning your brush, because these paints are so beautifully and they blend so easily that you pick up color. It's all right with that one because you want it dark, and that one, I don't know why the brushes are splitting either. Never had my paintbrushes do that. I think there might be a little bit of soap, so that can be dark. But because we've got the pink highlight, I want to keep that. So I can't now go up there because I will lose that color. I'll lose my highlight. So every time you've done a highlight and you go into your dark, you have to wash your brush out, because you're picking up beautiful color as you blend, because they are such, it won't work as good. The only reason these are melting like butter is because they are professional watercolors. And if I want some color, I can pick it up. I don't know why the brushes are splitting. Blend that in, and then I've got the color to pop down there. What are you doing, Jessie? Oops, nice one off. So you get a lovely soft blend. Now, I suggest you practice 3 colours together to see if you like your colour blend. One of these is a little bit too purple for me, but it'll be fine. And then you just want a touch of there. And we pick up that dark. So again, it's a very delicate way to work. Once you've got your colour on. Now, I'll do another one this afternoon after this one with the Derwent water brush number one, because being permanently damp, they just, all those scribble marks have completely disappeared now. And we can manipulate that colour to do what we want. And it's not up to the line, but we can now take it up to the line. But normally I wouldn't. I would turn the brush around. I've got that lovely little blend. Now that lovely colour is not going to show up here until we get a really bright strawberry. So those are the colours so far. Oh, thank you, Melody. I'm not sure about the pinky one on there, but it's a third colour. It's a third colour, and I have missed a bit actually. I've missed this one. And then we've got that rich. And again, when that flower is painted, it'll stand against that dark background. And you could put a little shadow under there if you wanted to a bit later. But I like the fact that we can do really strong colours from just the Derwent watercolour pencils. They will do that lovely line, really rich tone as well. So it's just coming up to an hour, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reset myself because I can't keep holding it. So I'm going to reset myself and we'll come back and do that. And then I'm going to, again, work in 3 colours. So I'm going to have a straw colour and then a warmish brown and then maybe a darker brown for some highlights, some darks. The strawberries, we've got a kind of an orange, and then we can have a reddy red and then that burnt carmine to give the shadow. the leaves. I do like that combination I was using with the indigo for the dark shadows, maybe a pea green or a leaf green for the highlights, and then maybe a hooker's green, or there's a mineral green, which is kind of a proper earthy green, and then I've got the highlight, the mid green, and then the blue to make that green very dark. And you could do that with watercolors. You could make your green, make a light green, make a medium green, and then add a touch of blue to it, and you can get that very dark indigo color. I might do a lemon dress, or lemony orange. Lemony might look quite nice. And then we've got our mushrooms at the bottom. So if you're not sure of your colors, and sometimes, like, I wasn't particularly liking this one, just scribble 3 colors together and see how they look, and then you can always mix and match. So you can either stick to 3 purples, or you can stick to 3 colors next door to each other on the color wheel, and that's your rule of 3, and it works very well. Yes, Melody says mushroom homes. So I shall be back in a second, guys, with part 2. I'll be stood in the window ledge. So I'm back with part 2, and this particular book is Fairy Miracles. I'm going to go for part 2. So thanks for watching.